Good morning, poets. Today it's May 6th, 2020, and our objective is to choose one of your actions and write a poem. On Monday, you thought about where poetry might hide in everyday actions, or maybe things you do on a weekly basis. And hopefully you have a list of 15 to 20 actions that could be poems. I want to show you today how I took one of these, of mine, and turned it into a poem. So I decided on this one, running along the Bay Trail. And here's my poem. I called it a Saturday Run. I anticipate the water, the waves, as I dig out my shoes and embrace the wind against my face. Chilled at first, but then I warm up like a cat in the sun. The trail hugs the bay as I watch boats rock on waves. The peninsula comes into sight, the sand invites me. Sometimes I stop, amazed. This girl who knew only fields of green corn lives now so near the sea. Don't make me go back. Mid-run, I sit on the sand and wish to stay. Can't someone else do laundry today? I want to take a moment to talk about the different lines and stanzas. Now remember, a line is just a row of words. So in this poem, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and over here 11. Stanzas are groups of lines. So there's one stanza here, 2, 3, and I suppose you can call this a fourth one over here. Now, how did I decide which words to put in which lines and which lines to group together into a stanza? I played around with it quite a bit, and this is what I landed on. There's no right or wrong answer. It's really up to you, the poet, to decide which words you want to put in a line and which lines you want to put in a stanza, but it should look like a poem. Believe it or not, this is the exact same poem, but it doesn't look like a poem here, does it? It just looks like a paragraph. So I had to think about what words I wanted in each line and how I wanted to divide those lines up into stanzas to make it look like a poem. And when we write a poem, I want you to think about the strong words that you use at the end of the line. Be willing to revise your poem. And finally, be artistic and play around with it. So just to show you again, this is what I ended up with. Now it's your turn. I want you to open your poetry assignment for Monday, the one you wrote the list of 20 actions that could be poems. Read through all of them carefully, then pick one that jumps out at you. When you think you have something more to say about, start with a brainstorm, just like we did with the haikus. What story do you want to tell about it? I want you to think about lines and stanzas and which words that you're going to choose to use. Play around. Be prepared to change your mind and try new words and phrases. You're going to continue to work on this document in Google Classroom. So again, here's the document. It says Wednesday's lesson. This is what you did on Monday. So here we are today. Choose one action from your above list and create a free verse poem. That's one that doesn't really follow any rules. Or write a more structured poem. If you want, you can do both. Here's the free version option. I turn the brainstorm idea of running along the bay on an early Saturday morning into a complete poem. And here's my example that you can reread. if you want to later. So down here, you're going to copy and paste the action you chose and play around with your poem here. If you want to write first on paper and pencil, go ahead and do that. In fact, that's what I would do because I work better on paper and pencil when I'm doing a rough draft. So you may do that if you want to, and then type your final draft into the box. If you'd rather do something with a little bit more structure, then you can use 10 to 12 of your actions and create a poem from them. So it's called Poetry Hides. So here's my example. Poetry hides. Poetry hides in a heaping pile of fresh-smelling laundry. Poetry hides in the way my cap flops down in the middle of a puzzle. Poetry hides in the minutes between brewing the coffee and drinking the first sip. Poetry hides in the delicious smells of brownies baking in the oven. Poetry hides in the scent of salt air as I run near the bay. Poetry hides in the folds of onions making tears roll down my face. Poetry hides in the Zoom call with my family on Saturday afternoons. Poetry hides in an open window, allowing the outside noises in. Poetry hides in the rain falling from the sky, sliding down the windows. Poetry hides right before our eyes. So you could do your Poetry Hides poem here. Now, where did I get these ideas? I got them from my 20 actions. I changed the wording around a little bit, but this is where I got the inspiration. So, today, you have two choices. You could either come up with your own poem here based on one of your actions, or you could create a Poetry Hides poem using 10 to 12 to create your poem down here. Remembering you're probably going to have to change the wording around to make it fit with the structure of Poetry Hides. All right, please see Google Classroom for when I will be available today on Zoom because it's different than a typical Wednesday. All right. If you have any questions, please email me or stop by Zoom office hours. But like I said, check Google Classroom because it's going to be a little bit different from when ELA is actually scheduled today. All right. Good luck, everyone.